Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our broadcast for today. It's on nurturing authentic career choices in young minds, and I have Sally Cope here with me. I'm just going to do some sharing of screen, and then I can get things underway here. So hopefully, Sally, I'm showing the right thing there.
Yeah, you are. And yeah,
Good.
that looks
Thank you
good to
very
me.
much. Great. So here we are with this particular broadcast, and it's extremely important that we think about this. I know for myself as a teacher, I will be talking with young people, and of course the question comes up, particularly those who are graduating out of their formal schooling, and it's, what are you going to do? And some of them have got no idea what they want to do. So anything that we can do to be able to help them to understand what it is to be able to make the right career choices is absolutely crucial. I'm Karen Bonanno, and I work with Genius Group and Genius School, but I am an educator, and I've been in the education sector for quite a period of time. My role within the Genius School is to develop curriculum and to deliver that. So I work with young people as well as with adults who come through on the educator course. The other person here is Angie Stead. Now, Angie is a co-founder and leader of Genius School. Unfortunately, she can't be with us for this broadcast as she has a meeting actually with her Ministry of Education where she lives in New Zealand. So we've got a number of people, and Sally's one of those, and we're going to give you some background to Sally in just a moment. But before I do that, I'll give you an idea of what we're going to be covering during this particular broadcast. As I said, the young people are having to make decisions about what their working world is going to be, and they have no idea. Some of them know at an early age, and then they go through schooling and they understand what it is that they're going to do. But the whole landscape is changing all the time around us for the working world. I'm also going to look at things like the old and the new, the job market forecast, what new jobs are coming in, what jobs that are now going to be declining, and we're going to be covering that as well. Also, what employers are looking for in young people is an important part. And then looking at the alignment of the talent, passion, and purpose. And this is where Sally's going to be coming in and sharing her insights and her experience on that, as well as some of the tips and strategies to support them. And then we'll talk about how you can be involved in Genius School to help to guide and support the next generation through their whole, not only their schooling, but also their choice for career, and even going into being maybe a young adult entering into the entrepreneurial field as well. A little bit about Genius School. We focus solely on being student-centred and making sure that we understand the young people with whom we work, particularly their natural talents, skills and capabilities, and then designing our learning pathway for them to be able to show up as their best self and to be able to learn easily and quickly and more efficiently. For us, it's creating those self-aware lifelong learners, because in the working world, it's pretty well common knowledge now that you're going to have to be constantly learning on the job. So if we can get those type of skills in our young people, then that's a real asset for them as they progress. For us, it's empowering those young change makers and leaders. The young people of today will be the leaders of tomorrow. So together, as adults and also with the students, we're learning and discerning, and we're earning together. So we're really developing that community within the schooling environment that we have with Genius School. Some people often ask us, they say, well, what do you mean by genius? And we get people who talk to us about, maybe it's someone who's needing learning support, or maybe it's someone who's in the higher level where they already have talents that we're going to be developing them even further. But for us, we use the origins of the word genius. So there's two aspects here. There's what the ancient Romans believed, and there's also the Latin terminology as well. So the ancient Romans believed that everybody was born with just innate spirit, that you were born with this innate personality and a unique personality. And then the other part, the Latin term, is all about the innate dispositions and the inborn nature of the person. So what happens when we talk about genius, we're bringing together the unique attributes of somebody, both at a sense of their unique personality, but also then their unique skills and capabilities and talents. So that's where we come from when we talk about genius. If we look at the context that we've got this particular broadcast in about choosing or getting young people to choose careers that really are suited to them, and as adults we're nurturing them along that path, we have to understand, well, what is the world of work that they're going into? And this is where we're seeing the whole job churn. And many of us would know that jobs are constantly changing. And particularly we have seen that in the post-pandemic, and as we've seen lots of shift and change happening, that a lot of businesses are using the technology. Probably one of the big key factors, and this is global, is the economic and geopolitical status. That has a huge impact on our society. Things like the cost of living and interest rates and what's happening in the political global landscape that is having an impact on what's happening around the world. So we turn on the TV, or we read the news, or we listen to the news, and constantly we're being bombarded with this. And so this has a big impact on what happens with the jobs that are out there and the labour and market. Now, you can see this as a threat, but you can also see it as an opportunity. So if you know what's happening, you can kind of go, well, okay, we know there's this kind of job churn, but are there ways that we can leverage off that? The other part too is, I think, the technology. Again, there is so much new and emerging technology happening, and it's quite disruptive. We just need to think about things like using robotics or automation in industry, something like, well, for me here, where I live in Australia, the latest news that I heard was about increasing the number of driverless trucks on the mine site, because it's easy for them to have those vehicles without drivers because of the lack of pedestrian traffic. There's a set route that they take. So we see the technology having an impact then on the type of people that they employ. They may not need to employ drivers, but they probably need to employ someone who understands the technology behind those particular machines. And then we have that human-machine relationship as well. We've got most businesses are saying that they are bringing in some element of a machine to perform a task. And for me, what comes to mind there is manufacturing. So we've got a change in what's happening in manufacturing. So there might be someone who's sitting there monitoring a whole lot of screens or a whole lot of dials, rather than being on the floor doing the welding or whatever it might be. But again, there is the need for that person who's behind the screens to know what they're looking at and what they're looking for, and to be discerning in the decisions that they're making as they're in that particular role. And of course, then we've got the emerging AI. So it might be that you'll walk into a motel room in another couple of years, if not already, where the person behind the counter is actually going to be a robot that has humanoid sort of features. And because of their AI intelligence, they'll know how to interact with you. And so that's where we've also got the digitalization. Knowledge and data today is just all digitized. So you can crunch it and manage it from remote locations. So all of these factors are having a big impact on the job and the market and the labour force out there. So let's have a look to see what that might look like. I went and found a report, and I'll put this in the chat later, this particular link. And in that report, I'll just show you the report here, because it's going to be too tiny for you to read. I've only picked out the top 10 and top bottom. But it looks at the blue are the jobs created, and the mauve is the jobs displaced, and then there's this net growth and decline. So this is what's forecasted over the next 4 years. So we can see a lot of AI machine specialists, and that's going to be a growth. But then we get down to the bottom here, and anything that's clerical or administration is going to be a jobs displaced. So there's going to be no growth or minimal growth in that particular area. So if I go back here, we can see some of the things that I was talking about before that have an impact. And we've got all these different types of jobs, but then we've got the lost jobs as well. So somewhere along the way, as we're nurturing young people to make decisions, we have to be mindful, as the adults doing that, of the type of jobs that they will go into, and not keep ourselves too confined on what is happening now. So what are employers actually looking for? They're looking for young people who are flexible. so that they are in the workspace where they're going to use some of the skills and attributes that you see down the right-hand side to help them to be flexible, to be responsive to what's happening, so that they can do some immediate changes if they need to, and not be too fixed because of the need for that fluidity in their working. They need to also be adaptable. And that may mean that sometimes they might be working remotely, sometimes they might be working face-to-face, sometimes they might be working and travelling on the road. There's all different things that they might have to do, because the business is going to have to also be responsive to what's happening around them to continue for that business to be successful. And as I mentioned before, there's this commitment to continued learning, that if young people can develop these skills of the problem solving, critical thinking and so forth, then they're going to be able to make a commitment. And particularly we see some of the softer skills there, like resilience and motivation. They're important as well. And employers are looking for that because they want young people to take initiative sometimes, rather than be told what to do or to have so much structure in place. For us here at Genius School, we actually use this little overlap multiple Venn diagram, which is called the Icky Guy. You may have heard of it. But we use that with our young people to get them to give us a score when they first start with us, a score about what they think they're good at. You know, are you each day showing up and doing what you're really good at, or is it that you may only do that once or twice a week? And then we ask them about, you know, what do you love? Are you fulfilling your passions on a weekly, daily, or whatever basis? And then, do you know what the world needs? Do you know what the issues and concerns and problems are out there that need to be solved? They need that critical thinking and creative thinking and problem solving. And then, of course, the last one is, well, what could you be paid for? So that slide before where I showed you all the different jobs, you know, that's something that we need to help them to be mindful of, is that jobs are going to be changing and they're going to have to be flexible and adaptable to be able to do that. So that just gives us a basic introduction to this whole concept of, well, what are we setting young people up for when it comes to their career choices? And that's why I'm delighted to have Sally here, because Sally, as a Genius Educator, she is very interested and passionate about helping young people to be able to identify the way that they can use what they're naturally good at, showing up as their best selves, and then looking at the career opportunities and maybe the skills that they need to develop to be able to then enter into work that they probably enjoy. Whereas for some, it might be that they're doing some work, but they're thinking there might be something better. How do I find out about that? And that's where Sally comes in to help them to be fine-tuning and doing that laser beam focus on something that's important for them. So, Sally, I'm going to hand over to you to give us some insights and impart some of your wisdom to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karen. Yeah, just a bit of a background for me, sort of like how I got into this. I was a teacher for 25 years, really, and I kind of then took a break from teaching, sort of decided to go into business with my husband. And in doing that, I actually went to Bali to be mentored by Roger, sort of through wealth dynamics, etc. And it was there that I found out, one, that my business didn't work and wouldn't work, which is a learning in itself. So I've been through that process, and then came across the whole team dynamics. And really, and I resonated with that because obviously I could marry the two, my teaching and my love working with young people and that side of it as well. So with that in mind, I kind of started that, and that's all probably about 8 years ago now. But I didn't really get very far with it. I could go into schools and talk and that sort of thing, but it wasn't really a business that was there until the pandemic. And I know Karen's already mentioned, post-pandemic, during the pandemic, things changed, as we all know. Post-pandemic, I realised that actually things had really changed. They've been changing over the years before, but things had really changed for young people. They got an idea about what it's like to work from home. They've got an idea about all the different things that are out there. And technology was rapidly changing because it had to. And it had been happening anyway, but it's really that I really think the pandemic accelerated the technology even more, because people had to use some way in order to be able to work and communicate, etc., and that increased the technology. And now it's it's increasing exponentially. So I then realized that actually schools can never keep up, and places of learning, I'm not knocking them in any way, but they don't have the funds or the ability to be able to keep up. So therefore there was getting a bigger gap for the young people with regard to what they could do and wanted to do and needed to do, bearing in mind that some of their careers haven't even been thought of yet. And with regard to the sort of there's jobs that they're going to be doing, things they're going to be doing in the future that are not even thought of now yet. So they need to really change their skills, and we need to hone in different skills they've got rather than the job they're going into, which previously, and if you go back as far as I can go back, it was that I want to do this job, I need this to do this job. And now the whole thing has changed, as Karen said, where it's all about what skills have you got, your flexibility, your adaptability, and that sort of side of it, your problem thinking, problem solving, etc. So this is where I thought, now this is what I need to tap into to help young people. And that's why I became a genius. I did the Genius Educator, became a Genius Educator, because I decided I need to upskill myself, make sure that I knew what was going on. I knew how to help the young people. I needed to consolidate my learning to see how that had changed. And I also needed to build a community, and where better community than actually through Genius, where we're going to a global community, because that's another aspect. Again, I really believe that post-pandemic we've gone far more global. It's far easier to communicate and work globally. So that's what we need to do. So from that point of view, that's why I became a Genius Educator, to actually, to help me learn and then to build my community, to have my toolkit ready for young people. And so which is what I do now. So what do I do now? So I'm working with young people, or young-minded people is what I say, so who are looking for their career, what they want to do. They might have an idea but no idea how to pursue it. It might be that they're kind of they know they're good at things, or they have a perception that they're good at particular subjects, maths or science or something like that. How do I pursue that? Or it might even be that the things that they're good at, they don't really want to pursue because that's their leisure time. And when we talk about IT and that sort of thing now, there are so many young people, that's their leisure. They don't want to be working in something that's their leisure. They want the work-life balance. So then I've developed a program, and I work with young people as well, to actually start with, what are they good at? What do they want to do? Really understand themselves. And then from understanding themselves, I can help them as to the type of career they want to go out into. It's not just for young people. I mean, I've advertised it as young people, but I mean, it can be for anyone who's really kind of stuck, doesn't know what they want to do, don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Or I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm working for someone. I don't really want to work for someone. I want to be my own sort of boss or whatever. I want to be in charge of my own destiny, if they want to make that leap. So what I've done is I've combined my business skills that I've learned along with my understanding for young people and the need for the young people, and brought them together. And we start with themselves and looking at that, and then going out into how can I help them and support them in the future, to actually kind of give them the self-confidence, the ideas, the the sort of like the actual understanding of what business is about and what they're going to need to do, what they're going to come up against, how, you know, what they're going to come up against with employers, etc. And that kind of leads me on. I do also go out into the business community and talk a lot to business owners about what young people are looking to do, because it's also a marrying of the two. It's all very well for young people, you know, for us to be saying this is what young people want, but if the business owners don't understand that, you've got a real mismarriage there. You know, you've got a real disjoint in it. So I go out into the business community and talk to the business owners about what do the young people want, and what do you want from the young people, so that then actually I can feed that back. So I'm kind of like the bit between. It's what I do. So yeah, it's just, as I say, to bring in the people together. I start with an online, because that's what's familiar, to get to know themselves, and then go out from there to to see how I can help them from once they've done their online course, which is sort of 3 modules. It doesn't take very long. Lots of interaction, it's not just them sitting listening to me, because that obviously that keeps it, you know, sort of keeps the interest there. I'm thinking about all the different learning styles as well, so that comes into the training, including one of the things that I've actually done is I've outsourced somebody to actually do the training for me. I do the speaking, but I have actually had a proper voiceover to do it, so that they're not listening just to one voice. So I've even thought of that side of it, to actually then, yeah, to engage them. And then the next part of the program is the upsell, to actually then help them individually. So that's kind of what I do. It's the key to it all is helping them with those skills and and structures that they need, with the problem solving, the analytical thinking, that sort of thing, the resilience. They will get knocked back, keeping the motivation going, because we all know in business, don't we, that's what you need. So it's letting them, getting them to understand it as well, that that's what's going to happen. You're on mute, Karen.
On mute. That's the trick of Zoom, isn't it? On mute.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is bring back up this Icky Guy, because this would be something that you would also be addressing, like when you're saying you're getting them to identify what they're good at. So for some of them, they would have some natural skills, but then by getting them involved in some real world learning, it helps them then to develop even more so. So how would you be utilizing this kind of multiple Venn diagram process in what you're doing, working with young people and helping them to identify career opportunities?
Yeah, so in discovering about themselves, but one of the key things is also about their passion, so what they love, so that they're understanding what they're good at, as you say. So the second part, then what the world needs, addressing that part. We look at sort of have conversations and look at how is the world, what's happening in business, and that's where I bring my business part back into it, as in, so if you're thinking about what sort of type of business, do you want an office bound something, or do you want something that you're going to go out and create and design, which is the whole thing of, from the talent dynamics, and then from there, so what do the businesses need? This is what the businesses are needing. And so how does that marry with what you're good at? And this is why I have the connection with the businesses, so that I'm understanding, and I can then bring together, well, have you thought about this sort of thing? Have you thought about that sort of thing? As in what the world needs. If they've, and also asking them, have they got ideas about what they want to do? Is it a fact that they've got they've got a passion about something that they just don't know how to put this into start this off, put this into place, or they don't know whether that's going to work, in which case then we explore, well, how is it going to work? Let's look at the the side of it, whether this is a viable prospect, and because that leads on to what can you be paid for, because it might very well be something that works.
And for some young people today, we've got lots of kind of youth movements or various movements and community activities which are embraced globally. So it could be that their young person is more of a change maker and might be working for, say, a not-for-profit organisation that has a particular global cause in mind, and they're being paid by that not-for-profit. But they're the ones who might be out there being the spokesperson from a youth perspective. So it's adding the value to the community. So there's kind of, in this time, I think, with young people, some of them go to that kind of movement and then they go into a job or career or entrepreneurial opportunity as well. So and how do you put that over to other people is what we look at. So you've got this idea, or this, how do you put that over to people, and then for it then to be understood? So how do you, it's like, I don't know whether you have them where you are, but the Shark Tank concept, whereby what it is, young people have to put forward a proposal and say, I am seeking so much for my business, and they have to present everything, and then the person says, well, I'll give you $500,000, but I will have 40% of your business. And so there's that environment where they're having to do their pitch to get things started.
And that's called Dragon's Den in the UK.
Oh, right.
And actually, in the part of the country where I live, there's something called the Careers Hub, and the person who heads up the Careers Hub actually does that with the schools. They do it with the year 8. So I'm just thinking that's the 12 to 13-year-olds, to actually get them to be thinking that way. And I'm involved in that. So this is where, again, I've kind of got in with them, so that then I'm part of them, and I actually go and help with the Dragon's Den. I'm not a dragon. I'm not somebody who's pitching. But I'm but I'm there that's helping them and supporting them and putting their pitch together and that sort of thing. And that's really valuable. That's an annual event now that happens with the schools in my area. That's which is great, because then they do have to look at all aspects of it. And there again, that's something that maybe an idea to start up or whatever. And
also too, if a young person can develop that capacity to be able to put a pitch together of what they'd like to do, then they're able to then pitch that to a prospective employer and say what value I will add to your business, because I bring to you this and this and this, and this is what I can do for you. And actually this is exactly what happens. So they pitch, they have the dragons are local employers, large local employers, different aspects of industry, and then those employers often, and it had definitely happened last year, I'm sure, is they then say, I'm going to take up that idea, or take that idea and develop it. So then they've got the recognition, so they can see it come to fruition, which is great, isn't it? So so that's a really good way. This particular quote is attributed to Albert Einstein, and I think it's quite relevant here. Because if, as you're saying, the school sector is a slow-moving machine when it comes to changing, and if it's trying to fit round pegs in square holes, then there is that level of frustration that a young person may experience. Whereas if we can identify what they're really good at and how they learn at their best and how they show up, how they communicate naturally. And then we can align how we put things in place to support them, so that when they are doing a pitch to a business, or they are putting a proposal together, they're doing it in a way that is natural for them to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I do mock. I go into schools and I do mock interviews with them, because this is something else that the schools do, and then talking with the schools about how the interview should happen, because for some people, well, for most people actually, an interview is such a daunting thing, and what's expected, etc. And again, talk to the businesses about interviews don't need to be as formal as they have been, because you're not necessarily getting the real person. In which case you're not necessarily seeing their adaptability, flexibility, ability to do so many things, the resilience, etc. and the motivation. So again, it's the marrying of the two. It's building up the business relationships through business networking that I do, plus also then working with the schools, to then bring it together, and then with the idea that my course is sort of just then starts people off. They get to know this and they think, well, that's great, and we go from there.
Yeah, so in a way, you'd be familiar with this, where the way that we work within Genius School for a child's learning is, it's first of all creating that sense of self-awareness. Who am I? And for many young people, they're in the age bracket of 14 to 21, they're still in that phase where they're identifying their identity of who am I. And so if we can support them to do that, and that's the beauty of, you were referring before about talent dynamics and team dynamics, that's the kind of profiling assessment type tool that we use that allows them to truly identify. And for me, my experience in that is a high level of accuracy for them when they do that. They complete that multiple choice online questionnaire, and then they get their report. And then it's helping them to then understand that and unpack it. So this is where we move into, their ability to, gain some mastery there, develop those skills, and become sort of a heightened awareness of who they are and what they bring, being confident. All of those things come in. And then, of course, the self-expression is, well, how do I pitch myself? How do I put my, say, resume together? How do I put everything in place to then show that this is authentically me? And I think that's what employers are looking for as well. They're not looking for the cookie cutter application. They're looking for something that is different, authentic, unique, and really demonstrates the individuality of the person when they do that.
Absolutely. And during Genius Educator, this is the one part of the really good course that I was really struck by, and this is what kind of made me think about what to do and how to develop what I'm doing, because you've got to have the self-awareness to then the self to be able to do the self-expression, and those two kind of go hand in hand, but one perpetuates the other. And in order to you've got to have that before you can have the self-mastery. So it's about understanding that all together. And that's something I refer to a lot. Thank you.
So with the Genius School, Sally's been referring to the Genius Educator program. And so we've got various programs. We've got some that are free that you can do, and I will include that in follow-up email with people, that things that you can do which start to get your mind thinking about this and how you would pick up the challenge of supporting young people. But we also have other training programs. Some are online, some of them are face-to-face. And it's a way then of understanding the tools that we use and why we use them and how we use them. Sally's given us some outlines of the way that she's using that with young people. So we've got various programs. One of the programs we've got is what we call a Genius School Youth Consultant. And the learning and the understanding and the content that you would be exposed to in this would allow you to be doing something very similar to what Sally's doing. Because with this particular program, part of it is these two courses, which are there. One is the flow consultant. And so the flow consultant is all about understanding this particular profiling diagram down here, that it's understanding the different energies. And so with the energies in speak for our young people, we say to them that you're either ideas smart, people smart, senses smart, or detail smart. And then we can start to talk to them about how they show up. And then because we can dive deeper then when we actually get them to do their teen dynamics, because they will show up as one of these particular profiles. And each of these profiles will have unique attributes. They'll have things that they're great at, things that they're not so good at, the way that they'll be able to perform and interact in teams, the type of jobs they can go into that will be of more fulfilling for them. So that flow consultant program goes through and unpacks all of that so that you understand them. So when you're talking to young people, you kind of know when you're talking to them, okay, so if you're a Lord profile, then this is the type of thing that you would be really good at, because you will excel in knowing the detail and having the facts and the figures and, you know, the checklist and making sure that everything's all structured and in place. So when you're talking with them, you're giving them some direction and guidance, so that even saying to them, well, when you go looking for a job, have a look and see where some of the key terms that appear in your report also appear in the job application. So all of this you'll learn through the flow consultant. And then the youth consultant one is all about, as Sally said, knowing how to interact with young people, because it's very different interacting with a young person compared to interacting with an adult. So these are the sorts of things you'll develop, that deeper understanding. You'll learn about the Genius School philosophy that's all student-centered and focused. You'll understand what it is, and we give you different examples of debriefing, which really means you're helping to unpack the report for a young person so they understand it. And then also anything in regard to, you know, the principles and learning methodology that we use. Another part of the youth program is these tokens. Now, the way to explain that is, for a young person to do the multiple choice online assessment, they have to have a token, which is a series of blend of letters and numbers that they enter into the actual assessment portal together with their name and email. They do the multiple choice questionnaire, and at the end of that, they get their report, but then you also get the report as well. And that means that you can go through it, look at it, and then meet up with them to help them to understand. And so the teen dynamics is for young people aged from 10 to about 17, 18. And then the talent dynamics is more geared to people who are, or maybe already in the workforce. There may be an employee. And as Sally said, they're young at heart, or they're young-minded. You know, they want to look at getting out of where they are and getting into something that's a little bit more fulfilling. So you get a number of those tokens. Now, you can either give them away, or you can integrate them into whatever you're doing, or you can actually sell them. And so that's why we say here there's the potential for actually generating some money from selling the tokens. And so that's all about just how to use the different profiles and the reporting, and then what young people get. The young people get about a 24-page report. The adults get a bigger report, because it's all about how you're going to be working in with teams and how you bring out the best in other people in your team. And so by getting that talent dynamics report, you actually become smarter in the way that you turn up for your work as well. The other thing too, I
was just going to add there. So anyone who's thinking, oh, I'm not sure whether this is going to be valuable or not, to become the training for the flow consultant. So this training is, to me, invaluable, because it's not only all what Karen said with regard to how you're helping the young people. It also helps you how you're going to present to them. So if you know that they are, for example, you know, a still or a lord or something, you're gonna talk to them, and you're going to present to them in a slightly different way to if they're a blaze, or you can see the 4 areas there. So if they're on the steel area, or you're going to present to them a different way to if they're a blaze. Because they're a different type of person. So that it not only it helps you about how you present as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And even you as someone who is in your own workplace, or if you're an entrepreneur, or even an educator, a teacher, a youth coach, homeschooling parent, you know, all of that, it's all valuable to do that as well. And in fact, what I usually say to people is that when you get your tokens, if you've never done your own talent dynamics, then do it before you do anything else, because then you need to understand yourself before you can actually start to understand how you'll help other people. But a part of the youth consultant program is that you get access to the EdTech platform that we use called Genius U. And it's sort of a multi-space platform where there's the school campus, there's a university, there's an entrepreneur, there's an investor. So it deals with the concept of your learning from infancy to when you depart this mortal earth. And it's a platform that allows you to do that. And there's a whole mix of resources there. But with the Genius School, we've got a number of different free resources there that you can use. And then also too, there's micro degrees and online courses that are there. But as a result of engaging and enrolling in the Genius School Youth Consultant, you get the opportunity to be able to put up your own courses and your own events and host them. And even if you haven't got anything, you're able to, what we hear, sort of earn affiliate commissions. You're able to promote other educators' events or programs and earn, it's around about a 10% commission that you usually get from that. So there's different ways that you can, like I said before, right at the beginning with Genius School, we're learning, discerning and earning. And we're gravitating backwards and forwards through that depending on our own learning journey. So that gives you 12 months. So what happens here, it's following the training that you get to generate your own revenue. You can sell your tokens and do your profile and debriefing. You can integrate them into what you might already be doing as part of the services that you offer, depending on whether you're an educator, a coach, or parent, home educator, a parent. But you can also support the other educators, as I said, through affiliate sales. And you said that, Sally, about being able to collaborate with other Genius educators. It helps to bring some fresh thinking to the way that you would be doing your business. So we've got an enrollment price there of $1,200, and that's for the whole year. And with the program, you can go back and dip into it as many times as you like, even after the year's over. You can go back, and often I do that, particularly with the courses that are here. Go back and listen to them again, listen to the videos that are there and go through it so that you actually become more attuned to the different profiles and how that you can help young people and those around you to understand what they're doing. So if you're interested in that, then you can just scan this QR code, and there's a little calendar will pop up, and you'll see that there's some times, and you'll be chatting with me, so you know who you're talking to. So you'll be able to have a chat with me about the things that we've talked about on this particular broadcast, but also too how you might want to be using some of the even free tools that we've got, that you could use them with even your own kids or others around you. But if we have a chance to have a talk, then we can look at the different opportunities that you would have in being able to support young people and nurture them through their career choices. So, Sally, it was great for you to be able to come on and share. And it really gives some demonstration of the benefits of being able to undertake some courses and study to then get better at what you're doing so that you can help the young people. So any final words of wisdom before we say good evening? No, it's good evening for me, but it's good morning for you.
It's good morning for me.
Yes.
That's right. Based in the UK, yeah. Okay. So I think my sort of top tips that I would say to you is, if you're thinking I'm interested in this, just do it. Because there's so many things you're going to learn from it. If you've not done your talent dynamics or whatever, you need to do that definitely to understand yourself. But if you know, if you have and you think I'm not sure about, you know, what I'm doing, you know, I want to help the young people, and you know, but I don't know how. Just do it. Just do what Karen's, you know, the course that Karen said, and just get out there and talk to people. Tell people what you do. Tell people what you're passionate about. go and talk to the businesses, you know, go and talk to the young people. That's something that people are not doing. There's real mismatch, you know, between almost a them and us. And you can be the person that brings them together, and they just welcome you with open arms. So that's my experience anyway. And just show people how, you know, if you're flexible, all those things, flexible, adaptable, motivated, etc., which you're going to be to do this, it works. So
all right. Thank you, Sally, and thank you for being on the session. And for those who get to listen to the recording, yeah, make sure you reach out to us and follow up so that we can help you to do what you want to do for young people as well.
Thank you. I've put my details in the chat, but I know Karen's going to send them out as well. That's great.
Thanks, Sally. I'll include them in the follow-up email as well. Okay.
That's lovely.
Thank you. All right.
Right.